The moment I realized my family had never planned to show up, everything inside me changed. I was standing in a beautifully decorated restaurant, surrounded by pink balloons, glowing candles, and a birthday cake that had taken weeks to plan. My phone was pressed against my ear when my father's voice came through, followed by laughter that still echoes in my memory. Then he delivered the sentence that shattered something I had spent years trying to protect. "We are in Paris." Not Paris, Missouri. Not some local restaurant. The actual city across the ocean. Then he laughed again and said they had only kept me busy while they arranged something better for my younger sister. I remember staring at the empty chairs around me. Every chair had been reserved for someone who had never intended to sit in it. Months of effort disappeared in a matter of seconds. The food remained untouched. The band stopped playing. The candles burned quietly while my family celebrated on another continent. I did not cry. I did not yell. I simply stood there, listening to their laughter fade through the phone. And for the first time in my life, I stopped making excuses for them. My name is Madison Carter. I was 24 years old at the time, and for most of my life, I had built my entire identity around being dependable. If something needed to be organized, I handled it. If someone forgot a responsibility, I stepped in. If there was a problem, everyone automatically expected me to fix it. I lived in Columbia, Missouri, and worked as an accounting assistant for a small financial office downtown. My days were filled with spreadsheets, invoices, and endless reports. My evenings were usually spent helping my family with whatever crisis happened to exist that week. My parents called me responsible. The truth was much simpler. I was useful, and useful people rarely get appreciated. 3 months before everything fell apart, my younger sister Savannah was about to celebrate her 16th birthday. My parents treated it like a royal event. Every conversation revolved around her. Every plan focused on her happiness. Every dollar somehow became my responsibility. When my mother suggested throwing her a special birthday party, I immediately volunteered to organize it. Part of me genuinely loved my sister. Another part hoped that if I worked hard enough, somebody in my family would finally look at me with pride. That hope turned out to be my biggest mistake. I threw myself into the planning process with an intensity that bordered on obsession. During lunch breaks at work, I called vendors and venues. I compared menus. I negotiated prices. I spent evenings researching decorations and entertainment options. Eventually, I found the perfect restaurant beside the river. The place looked magical after sunset. String lights hung above the outdoor seating area. Soft jazz music played in the evenings. The water reflected the city lights like a painting. The moment I saw it, I knew Savannah would love it. I reserved the venue immediately. The expenses started piling up almost instantly. The restaurant deposit came first, then the decorations, then the custom cake, then the live band, then personalized invitations. Every payment came directly from my savings account. My parents never offered financial help. Instead, they offered opinions. My mother inspected every decision like a professional critic. "Savannah likes elegant things," she would say while looking through my plans. "Maybe add another layer to the cake." A few days later, she would find something else. "The flowers need upgrading. The centerpieces look cheap. The invitations should feel more luxurious." Every suggestion cost money. My money. Still, I kept going. My father was not much different. Every few days I received another text message from him. "Make sure the food is impressive. Do not cut corners." She only turned 16 once. Reading those messages made me laugh. Sometimes because he talked as if he were funding the entire event. In reality, every charge landed on my debit card. But I never complained. That was my role in the family. Fix things, pay for things, smile through things. At night, my apartment looked like an event planning warehouse. Balloons filled corners of the living room. Ribbons covered the coffee table. Sticky notes covered my refrigerator. One evening, I started creating a photo album for Savannah. I spent hours sorting through old family pictures. There she was at 3 years old, missing her front teeth. There she was riding her first bicycle. There we were building a snowman together during a winter storm. Page after page filled with memories. As I assembled the album, I found myself smiling. For a little while, I convinced myself those memories still meant something to all of us. Whenever I texted Savannah asking for input, her responses were painfully short. "Looks good, cool, whatever you think." Not once did she ask how much work I was doing. Not once did she thank me. I kept telling myself she was just a teenager. Teenagers could be selfish. Teenagers could be distracted. But deep down, another thought kept growing stronger. Maybe she had learned from our parents that my effort was simply expected. Maybe none of them saw what I was sacrificing anymore. The closer we got to the birthday, the more exhausted I became. At work, my performance started slipping. I found myself making calls between reports and checking event details during meetings. One afternoon, my supervisor walked past my desk and noticed me confirming a delivery schedule. His expression immediately darkened. "Madison," he said, "this job is paying you to work here, not run a party planning business." The embarrassment burned. I apologized and quickly returned to my spreadsheets. But even while typing numbers into a report, My mind remained focused on balloons, reservations, and timelines. Every day felt like a race. Every night felt shorter than the last. A week before the event, I drove across town collecting supplies. My car became filled with boxes, decorations, and bakery orders. The smell of frosting lingered in the air for days. I kept reminding myself it would all be worth it. Family required sacrifice. That was what I had always believed. One evening, I returned home carrying several shopping bags. Savannah was lying on the couch scrolling through her phone. I smiled despite my exhaustion. Almost finished planning everything, I said. She barely glanced up. Nice. Then she returned to her screen. That single word hit harder than it should have. Not because it was rude, because it felt completely genuine. She truly did not care. A few minutes later, I walked into the kitchen and found my mother sitting at the table with several travel magazines spread around her. I noticed photographs of European cities. Paris, Rome, London. When she saw me looking, she quickly closed one of the magazines. I frowned. Planning a trip? She smiled a little too quickly. Just browsing. Then she changed the subject immediately. Did you remember to confirm the bakery? Something about the interaction felt strange, but I ignored the feeling. I always ignored warning signs when it came to my family. The next night, during dinner, I overheard another conversation. My parents were discussing flights. I distinctly heard my father mention Paris. When I looked up, both of them suddenly stopped talking. The silence felt awkward. Then my mother immediately redirected the conversation toward the birthday party. Did you finalize the seating chart? I nodded. The moment passed. Looking back now, the clues were everywhere. I simply did not want to see them. The night before the party, I stayed awake until nearly 2 in the morning. I packed decorations, wrapped gifts, prepared centerpieces, double-checked reservations. Before finally going to bed, I sent a group text to my parents and Savannah, confirming the schedule for the next day. Nobody replied. I convinced myself they were asleep. The following morning, my father called. Everything ready? Yep, I answered proudly. I think it is going to be perfect. There was a strange pause. Then he said something that would haunt me later. Good job, kiddo. At the time, it sounded supportive. Later, I realized it sounded more like a goodbye. Please subscribe my channel if you loved your parents.